Welcome to my channel BBC Rare Coins. Remember, it's not just a penny. It's a potential treasure waiting to be discovered. Like, subscribe, and check your change. You never know what you might find. Top 1. Most people see a penny and think it's just spare change. A throwaway coin. Something you might leave behind on a counter or drop in a donation jar without thinking twice. But what if I told you that one specific penny, a simple 1964 Lincoln cent, could be worth as much as $67,000 today? Sounds unbelievable, right? But it's true, and if you're lucky, one of those rare coins might already be in your possession, hiding in an old coffee can, a drawer, a box of forgotten keepsakes, or even sitting unnoticed at the bottom of your pocket. The 1964 Lincoln penny is one of the most commonly produced coins in U.S. history. That year, the Philadelphia and Denver mints churned out more than 6.4 billion pennies combined. They were everywhere. They were in everyone's hands, purses, cash registers, and coin rolls. At face value, it was just another year, just another penny. But not all of those coins were created equal. In that massive batch of billions, a few extraordinary coins were minted that broke the mold. Literally, among those billions of pennies are coins with rare errors, unique flaws, and one-of-a-kind characteristics that drive collectors wild. Some of those rare errors were only noticed years later by sharp-eyed coin hunters and numismatic experts who realized something didn't quite add up. These error pennies, especially ones from 1964, are now among the most sought-after pieces in the entire Lincoln cent series. In perfect condition and with the right traits, a single 1964 penny has sold for as much as $67,000 at auction. And the story of why is absolutely fascinating. Let's start with the double die error. This is one of the most popular and recognizable types of mint errors, and it's also one of the most valuable. A double die occurs when the coin die, the tool used to stamp the image onto the blank metal disc, is imprinted incorrectly or struck twice slightly out of alignment. This results in a distinct, visible doubling of the design, most commonly on the date, the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." If you've ever seen a double die coin, you know just how striking the error can be. It's not just a subtle imperfection, it looks like the coin is echoing its own letters. Now imagine a 1964 penny with a double die in pristine, uncirculated condition. That's exactly the kind of coin that collectors will go to war over at auction. Coins like this are incredibly rare, and when they do appear on the market, they often fetch tens of thousands of dollars. But the double die isn't the only error that makes a 1964 penny valuable. Another jaw-dropping error is the wrong planchet strike. Normally, a Lincoln cent from 1964 would be struck on a bronze planchet. But occasionally, due to a mix-up at the mint, a few pennies were accidentally struck on planchets meant for other coins, dimes, foreign coins, even silver-colored blanks. These mistakes result in coins that look and feel different, and they're extremely rare. A 1964 penny that's struck on the wrong planchet can look silver, be lighter or heavier than normal, and may even have slightly different dimensions. Because of their rarity and bizarre appearance, these wrong planchet pennies are extremely valuable to collectors and specialists. And if the coin also happens to be in uncirculated or mint condition, the value can skyrocket. In addition to errors, condition is everything. A coin that's been circulated, dropped, scratched, or cleaned loses a huge portion of its potential value. But a coin that has never been used, that's remained untouched since the day it left the mint, and that's where the big money comes in. These are called mint state coins. They are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with anything over 65 considered extremely high quality. A 1964 penny with no visible flaws, no wear, and a brilliant surface can earn these high grades from services like PCGS and NGC, and instantly gain significant value even without a mint error. Combine one of these rare errors with a top-tier mint state grade, and you have a formula for a coin that's no longer just pocket change. You have a coin that can change your life. One such coin, verified and graded, sold for an astonishing $67,000 at auction. Not because it was gold, not because it was ancient, but because it was a tiny, overlooked detail in an ocean of billions. One coin, one error, one lucky find, that's all it takes. Think about that. A penny, the lowest denomination in US currency, something people barely even pick up off the ground anymore, turning into a five-figure windfall. That's what makes numismatics so exciting. It's treasure hunting for the modern age. You don't need a shovel or a map. You just need a good eye, a little knowledge, and a bit of curiosity. So, how do you know if you have one of these valuable 1964 pennies? Start by checking the date. Look for 1964, with or without the D mint mark from Denver. Then inspect the coin carefully, under good lighting or with a magnifying glass. Check the date and lettering for signs of doubling. Look for any discoloration, unusual weight, or a silvery surface. Don't clean the coin. Cleaning a coin destroys its natural finish and drastically reduces its value. If the coin seems unusual, the best step is to take it to a trusted coin dealer or submit it to a grading service. Even if you don't have the $67,000 coin, you might have one worth $50, $100, or more. Many 1964 pennies in high grade regularly sell for several $100s to collectors. The key is knowing what to look for, and taking the time to search. Thousands of these pennies are still out there. In piggy banks, in forgotten coin collections, in jars, in cash drawers, in dusty attics. Every day, someone might unknowingly spend a rare coin without ever realizing it. But once in a while, someone finds one. And in that moment, what was once a simple copper coin becomes something extraordinary. The 1964 1-cent penny is more than just a relic of a past era. It's a reminder that value isn't always about what's visible at first glance. Sometimes, the rarest things are hiding in plain sight. A coin you've handled 100 times could actually be worth thousands. All it takes is one coin, one moment, one discovery. A penny is just a penny, until it's worth $67,000. Top 2. Most people pass over a penny without thinking twice. They see it as the most insignificant coin in their pocket. But once in a while, something truly shocking hides in plain sight, and one particular coin proves it. A 1989 1-cent penny from the United States, something almost every American has seen thousands of times, has sold for a staggering $73,000. That's right, 1 cent turned into $73,000. And the story behind it might just send you digging through your old coin jar tonight. The 1989 penny is one of the modern Lincoln cents, featuring the familiar profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. It was minted by the billions, over 7 billion coins that year, to be exact. A coin that common seems like it would be the opposite of rare. But among those billions, just a handful were struck with unusual characteristics, rare errors, and minting flaws that make them worth more than their weight in gold. Literally. So what could possibly make a 1989 penny worth over $70,000? The answer lies in a perfect storm of factors: mint errors, metal anomalies, and exceptional condition. First, let's talk about the kinds of mint errors that can send a coin's value skyrocketing. Point 1. Of the most valuable and dramatic minting mistakes is the double die error. This happens when the coin die itself, the stamp used to press the coin's design, gets slightly misaligned or struck more than once. The result is a doubling of images or text that's often clearly visible on the date, the word liberty, or in God we trust. When these doubled features are obvious, sharp, and combined with a well-preserved surface, collectors start pulling out their wallets, because double die coins are rare. And a double die from 1989 is even more so. Another incredibly rare occurrence is a wrong planchet strike. Each coin is supposed to be minted on a blank disc of the correct metal, called a planchet. But mistakes happen. Sometimes, a coin is accidentally struck on a blank meant for a different denomination, or even a foreign coin. In 1989, a few Lincoln cents were mistakenly struck on the wrong metal, producing coins that look slightly off in color, weight, or size. Imagine finding a penny that's silver in appearance, or lighter than normal, or rings differently when dropped. These are the kinds of oddities that send experts scrambling for testing, and collectors racing to bid. And it doesn't stop there. Even a regular 1989 penny, with no visible minting error, can still fetch incredible prices if it's in mint state condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A score above 65 means the coin has survived in nearly flawless shape, no scratches, no discoloration, and no signs of circulation. A 1989 penny graded MS 68 or higher is an incredibly rare find. Combine that with an error, and you have a piece of modern history that's worth tens of thousands of dollars. That's exactly what happened in one case, a perfectly preserved 1989 penny with an error, graded by a top service, sold for a jaw-dropping $73,000 at auction. These aren't just numbers on a website. These are real coins, real auctions, real people finding real money sitting unnoticed in their homes. Think about how many pennies you've handled in your life. Hundreds? Thousands? More? And among them, maybe one of these treasures passed through your fingers and you never even knew. So what should you look for? Start by pulling out every 1989 penny you come across. Look closely at the date, the letters, the surfaces. Examine the color and shine. Is anything doubled? Does it look off color, like a silver coin hiding in a penny's body? Does it weigh slightly less or more than it should? Even the tiniest detail can make the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $73,000 payday. Do not clean it. Cleaning a coin can destroy its value. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges, and compare it with other pennies. If something seems off, take it to a professional coin dealer or submit it to a grading company like PCGS or NGC. They can verify whether your coin is the real deal and help you unlock its full potential value. The most amazing part: these coins are still out there. They're not locked away in museums. They're hiding in drawers, in old piggy banks, in forgotten lunchboxes, in dusty containers from the 80s. Thousands of people have never checked their change, never flipped over their old coins, and never realized that they're sitting on a small fortune. This is more than collecting. This is treasure hunting in the 21st century. No metal detector required. No digging through ancient ruins. Just you, your eyes, and a little curiosity. Because that simple penny you ignored yesterday might be the $73,000 miracle you find today. Coins like this remind us that hidden value is everywhere. That sometimes, the most ordinary object can hold the most extraordinary secret. So the next time you see a penny lying around, don't ignore it. Check the date. Because if it says 1989, you just might be holding something far more valuable than you ever imagined. A penny is just a penny, until it's worth $73,000. Top 3. Most people never pay attention to pennies. They pass them over, toss them in drawers, or leave them in the change cup at a gas station. But once in a while, a penny comes along that makes collectors stop in their tracks. And one of the most surprising examples is the 1972 Lincoln cent, a coin that looks ordinary but has sold for up to $56,000. That's right. 1 cent, worth $56,000. And the story behind it is as fascinating as the coin itself. The 1972 penny is part of the Lincoln Memorial Cent series, featuring Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the back. Over 5.5 billion of these pennies were minted in Philadelphia that year. It was a common coin. It was everywhere. Millions of Americans handled one without a second thought. But out of all those billions of coins, a small number were struck with a mistake, one that would make history. This is where the story gets interesting. In 1972, something went wrong at the Philadelphia Mint. One of the dies, the metal stamps used to imprint the coin's design, was misaligned during production. As a result, some coins were struck twice, but not in the exact same position. This error is called a double die obverse, and it's one of the most dramatic and valuable coin errors in modern U.S. history. On these rare 1972 pennies, you can see clear doubling in the word liberty, the phrase "In God We Trust," and the date 1972. We're not talking about a tiny flaw only visible under a microscope. This doubling is strong and obvious, even visible to the naked eye. It gives the coin a strange, almost ghostly appearance, like its design is echoing itself. Only a few of these doubled die pennies were discovered before most of them went into circulation unnoticed. That's what makes them so rare and so valuable. In top condition, one of these error coins sold for $56,000 at a major auction. Think about that, a 1-cent coin that turned into a luxury car, a down payment on a house, or a once-in-a-lifetime vacation. All because of a mistake made over 50 years ago, but that's not all. These rare 1972 double-die pennies become even more valuable when they are found in mint state condition. That means they show no signs of wear, no scratches, and retain their original luster from the day they were made. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A 1972 double-die penny in MS 65 or higher condition can bring in thousands of dollars. Combine that with strong doubling and flawless surfaces, and the value climbs quickly, leading up to that incredible $56,000 sale. Now here's the exciting part. These coins are still out there. People have found them in coin rolls, in old collections, in change jars, even mixed in with modern pocket change. Every day, someone might be holding one and not even know it.so. How do you find one? First, grab every 1972 penny you come across. Hold it under good lighting and look carefully at the date and lettering on the front. Is there any visible doubling? Do the letters look thicker than normal? Do you see what looks like shadows or echoes behind the numbers? If so, you might have one of the most valuable pennies ever released into circulation. And remember, there are multiple versions of the 1972 double die, but the double die of verse number 1 is the one collectors go crazy for, the one worth tens of thousands. There are other minor varieties, but that's the big one, the rare prize everyone wants. If you think you found one, do not clean it. Cleaning a coin can destroy its value instantly. Instead, handle it gently by the edges, store it safely, and consider submitting it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll verify the error and grade the condition. Key steps in getting top dollar from collectors or auction houses. The beauty of coin collecting is that treasures like this still exist. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to travel the world. All you need is curiosity, a sharp eye, and a willingness to look at something most people overlook. A single 1972 penny, just one, could be your ticket to a massive payday. Imagine finding one in your old coin jar. Imagine cashing it in for tens of thousands. Imagine discovering that what you thought was just a penny was actually $56,000 in disguise. Sometimes, history hides in plain sight. Sometimes, fortune comes in the smallest form. So don't ignore the pennies. Look at everyone. Because one of them might just change your life. A penny is just a penny, until it's a $56,000 miracle. Top 4. Most people don't think twice about a penny. It's the coin we drop, ignore, or leave behind. But what if I told you one penny, specifically from the year 1977, once sold for a jaw-dropping $63,000? That's right, one tiny copper coin, worth just a cent at face value, ended up being worth more than most cars, more than some college tuition, even more than an entire year's salary. And you could have one just like it, hiding in your loose change. The 1977 Lincoln Cent is part of the same iconic design series that's been around since 1909, featuring President Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. That year, over 4.4 billion pennies were minted, mostly from the Philadelphia and Denver mints. It was a common year. No one expected anything special. But in that massive sea of ordinary coins, a small number of extraordinary errors slipped through, and one of them led to a penny being valued at $63,000. So how does something so common become so valuable? The answer lies in rare minting errors, die varieties, and condition so pristine, it looks like it was made yesterday. One of the most famous types of valuable coin mistakes is the double die error, and although it's more famously associated with coins from earlier years, a few examples in 1977 also showed unusual doubling. Imagine the date, 1977, looking slightly shadowed or layered. Or the words liberty and in God we trust, showing extra thickness, ghosting, or doubling. These visual oddities might look like imperfections, but to collectors, they're treasures. But the real prize from 1977 wasn't just any error, it was an ultra-rare combination of a misstrike and flawless condition. In one case, a penny was found to have been struck slightly off-center, giving the coin a dramatic and eye-catching appearance. But what made it incredible wasn't just the error, it was the condition. The coin had never been circulated. It had no scratches, no wear, and still gleamed with its original copper luster. It was graded MS67 red, an almost perfect score for a coin that old. That one coin, a 1977 Lincoln penny with a rare error and nearly perfect condition, sold for a stunning $63,000 at auction. This wasn't a myth. It wasn't a rumor. It was a verified sale, authenticated and graded by one of the world's leading coin authorities. And the best part? Coins like this are still out there. Not in museums. Not locked away forever. But sitting unnoticed in collections, in junk drawers, in old piggy banks, in forgotten coin jars from your grandparents' house. So how do you find one? Start with the year, 1977. Check every penny you come across with that date. Look for anything unusual. Is the coin off-center? Are the letters thicker than normal? Is there any visible doubling in the text or date? Does the penny still look shiny and untouched, even after all these years? If the answer is yes to any of those, you might be onto something rare, and even if your 1977 penny doesn't have a visible error, don't rule it out. In perfect, untouched condition, even a regular penny from this year can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, especially if it's graded MS66 or MS67 by PCGS or NGC. Condition is everything in the world of coins. A single point on the grading scale can mean the difference between pocket change and a payday. The world of rare coins is full of surprises. And it's not always about ancient silver, gold medallions, or coins locked behind glass cases. Sometimes, it's a copper penny from a year you never thought twice about. Sometimes, it's a coin you've held in your hand and didn't realize was worth a fortune. That's the magic of coin collecting. Every coin tells a story. Every coin has the potential to be something extraordinary. And when it comes to the 1977 penny, that story just might be worth $63,000. So the next time you get change at the store, the next time you clean out your drawers, the next time you pass a penny on the ground, stop and look. Check the date. Because that one penny might not just be spare change. It might be history. It might be rare. And it might just be the most valuable coin you've ever touched. A penny is just a penny, until it's a $63,000 treasure hiding in plain sight. Top 5. Penny for your thoughts. Well, how about a penny that could be worth $56,000? Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet, that's exactly what happened with the 1978 Lincoln cent, a coin that most people consider nothing more than pocket change. But believe it or not, one of these humble pennies sold for $56,000, and this incredible story is one you won't want to miss. The 1978 Lincoln penny may look like every other penny from that era, featuring the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back, but there's more to this coin than meets the eye. In fact, it's part of one of the most surprising and fascinating tales in the world of numismatics. Now, let's talk about why the 1978 penny is worth a fortune. While billions of these pennies were minted, over 4.3 billion, to be exact, there was a small number of errors that turned a few lucky pennies into rare treasures. The value of a coin is often determined by its rarity, historical significance, and its condition. Most people assume that a 1978 penny is just an average, modern coin. However, there's one rare feature that could turn your everyday penny into a life-changing windfall: the double die error. A double die error occurs when the coin die, the tool used to strike the design onto the blank metal, misaligns during the minting process, resulting in double or multiple impressions of the design. This doesn't happen often, but when it does, it creates a distinctive doubled image that's visible to the naked eye. In the case of the 1978 penny, this error appeared most noticeably on the date 1978, the word liberty, and the phrase, "In God We Trust." If you look carefully at these areas, you'll notice that the letters or numbers appear to be duplicated, almost like a shadow of themselves. These double die pennies are incredibly rare, and the 1978 version is no exception. In fact, when one of these error coins was found in mint condition, it was sold at auction for an eye-popping $56,000. That's right, $56,000 for a coin worth just 1 cent if it wasn't for that minting mistake. This was not just any ordinary penny, it was a flawless coin, with no scratches, no discoloration, and no signs of wear, making it a prime candidate for the highest possible grade. But what makes this story even more fascinating is that the 1978 double die error is not just rare, it's underrated. Most people don't even know about it. So if you've got a jar of old coins lying around or a collection of pennies from your childhood, you could be holding onto a piece of history worth tens of thousands of dollars. So, how do you spot the error? It's actually easier than you might think. Start by grabbing any 1978 pennies you have and looking closely at the date and the inscriptions on the coin. Hold it under good light and carefully examine the 1978. Does the number appear to have a double impression? Then, check the word Liberty and In God We Trust. Are the letters slightly doubled or blurred? These are the key indicators of a double die error. Now, let's talk about condition. A 1978 penny with a double die error in mint state (MS) condition, meaning it has never been circulated and is free from any wear and tear, could be worth thousands. But a coin that's graded MS 65 or higher, especially with this type of error, could easily fetch $5,000, $10,000, or more. But when it's in pristine MS 67 condition, it can reach $56,000, just like the coin that made headlines in the world of numismatics. If you think you found one, don't clean it. Cleaning a coin can drastically reduce its value. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges, and store it in a protective case to preserve its condition. The best step is to take the coin to a professional coin dealer or submit it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can authenticate the error and assign it a grade, which will help you determine its true value. Imagine the thrill of discovering a coin that's been sitting unnoticed in your collection for years, only to realize it's worth tens of thousands of dollars. Imagine the feeling of having a coin worth $56,000 just because of an error that happened over 40 years ago. So, the next time you come across a 1978 penny, don't just toss it aside. Take a second to really look at it. Double die errors are rare, and if you find one, you could be holding on to more than just pocket change. You could be holding a $56,000 treasure, and the chance of a lifetime. A penny is just a penny, until it's worth $56,000. Top 6. Top 6. We all know the penny. It's the coin we often overlook, toss into a drawer, or let collect dust in our change jars. But what if I told you that a single 1992 Lincoln penny could be worth $59,000? Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet that's exactly what happened with one specific penny from this year, and the story behind it is nothing short of amazing. The 1992 1-cent penny is part of the standard Lincoln Memorial Cent series, with President Abraham Lincoln on the front and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. It was made during a time when pennies were still a common part of everyday transactions. In 1992 alone, over 6 billion pennies were minted across various U.S. mints. So, how does such a run-of-the-mill coin become worth $59,000? The answer lies in rare minting errors, which can turn a seemingly ordinary coin into a collector's dream. In 1992, one penny, a single, humble coin, was struck with a major error that would later be dubbed the close AM variety. This error was discovered when coin collectors realized that the spacing between the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse side of the penny was much closer together than usual. This might sound like a small detail, but for coin collectors, it's a big deal. You see, normally, the letters A and M in America on a 1992 penny are spaced farther apart. However, a few pennies were struck with the close AM variety, where the letters were accidentally stamped much closer together, making them look almost like a single block of text. This mistake wasn't immediately noticed, and most of these pennies were circulated, which means that they went unnoticed by the general public for years. But as the years passed, the close AM penny caught the attention of sharp-eyed collectors and numismatists. These errors are incredibly rare, so rare, in fact, that finding one in excellent condition could bring in a five-figure payday. The 1992 close AM penny has become one of the most sought-after varieties for modern collectors. When a near-perfect example surfaced, it was auctioned off for a staggering $59,000. Now, you might be thinking, how can something so small, a tiny detail like close lettering, make such a huge difference in value? Well, in the world of coins, rarity and condition are everything. The 1992 close AM penny wasn't just any penny, it was a mint state example. It had never been circulated, meaning it was in flawless condition, with its original shine and no signs of wear or damage. When coins are in perfect condition, they can fetch astronomical amounts, even if they're relatively modern, and the best part, these pennies are still out there. They're hiding in collections, sitting unnoticed in drawers, or buried in old change jars. You might have one in your own collection right now without even knowing it. Imagine pulling out a random penny from 1992 and noticing that the A and M are much closer together than on other pennies. That simple discovery could make you the owner of a $59,000 treasure. So, how do you spot a 1992 close AM penny? Here's what you need to look for. Examine the reverse side, turn the coin over and closely look at the word America. Are the A and M noticeably closer together than on most pennies you've seen before? That's the hallmark of this rare error. Check the date, make sure the penny you're looking at is indeed from 1992. The close AM error only applies to that specific year. Condition matters. Even if you find a close AM penny, its value will be largely determined by its condition. Coins in MS65 or higher grades can fetch a substantial price, and the higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. Get it graded. If you think you've found a 1992 close AM penny, the next step is to get it authenticated and graded by a professional grading service, like PCGS or NGC. They'll examine it for authenticity and assign a grade, which can help you get top dollar when selling or auctioning the coin. The world of coin collecting can be full of surprises, and the 1992 close AM penny is a perfect example of how something as simple as a minting mistake can turn an ordinary coin into a life-changing treasure. If you find one of these pennies in your change or tucked away in your old collection, you could be holding on to $59,000, just like that. So, the next time you get a penny from 1992, take a moment to look at it more carefully. It might just be the most valuable penny you've ever seen, and it might be worth far more than you ever imagined. A penny is just a penny, until it's a $59,000 treasure waiting to be discovered. Top 7. We all know pennies, those small, seemingly insignificant coins that we often toss aside or leave to collect dust. But what if I told you that a 1981 Lincoln penny, yes, a single, everyday penny, could be worth a staggering $62,000? Sounds impossible, right? Yet, this is exactly what happened with one rare 1981 penny, which sold for $62,000 at a major coin auction. How could a penny, something worth just 1 cent, suddenly be valued at such an astronomical price? Well, it all comes down to one thing: minting errors. And the 1981 penny is one of the most intriguing examples of how a small mistake at the US Mint can turn an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. The 1981 Lincoln penny features the classic design, Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the front, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But this penny isn't just any run-of-the-mill coin. In 1981, a rare minting error occurred with a select number of these pennies, leading to a very distinctive double die error that made them incredibly valuable. What is a double die error, you ask? In simple terms, a double die occurs when the coin's design is stamped more than once, resulting in a doubling effect. The most noticeable doubling can appear in the date, the word liberty, and the phrase, "In God we trust." For the 1981 penny, the error was striking enough that the doubling could be seen with the naked eye, no microscope needed. It's clear and obvious, like a ghostly shadow behind the original design. But here's where it gets really interesting. The 1981 double die penny wasn't just a little mistake. It was a significant error that created a dramatic effect on the coin's design. The doubling on the date, 1981, in particular, stands out in sharp detail. The letters and numbers seem to echo off the surface of the coin, as if they were stamped twice, but slightly out of alignment. This type of error makes the coin visually unique and makes it highly sought after by collectors, and if you think that's impressive, there's more to the story. The condition of the coin plays a massive role in its value. Like all rare coins, mint condition matters. Most 1981 pennies with the double die error were worn out after years of circulation. But one lucky collector managed to find a penny in mint state, meaning it was never circulated, showing no signs of wear, with a flawless surface and a shiny finish. When this near-perfect coin hit the auction block, it sold for a mind-blowing $62,000. You might be asking, how can a coin worth 1 cent become worth tens of thousands of dollars? The answer is simple: rarity and condition. Only a small number of 1981 pennies were struck with the double die error, and fewer still have survived in near-perfect condition. Because of the rarity of this error and the coin's excellent condition, collectors are willing to pay top dollar for a 1981 double die penny. Now, let's talk about how you can spot this rare coin. Here's what to look for: examine the date, flip the penny over and take a close look at the date, 1981. Do the numbers seem to have a shadow or a double impression? Is there a ghostly outline of the numbers behind the main ones? If so, you might have a double die error. Check the word Liberty. Next, look at the word Liberty on the obverse side. Is it doubled? A doubling effect should be clearly visible, giving the letters a blurry or shadowed appearance. Look at In God We Trust. The phrase In God We Trust might also have a subtle doubling, which can sometimes be the easiest feature to spot on the coin. Condition is key. If you find a penny with a double die error, but it's in rough condition with scratches or significant wear, it might still hold some value, but it won't reach the $62,000 price tag. The real treasure lies in a coin that's in mint state, flawless, as if it just came from the mint. If you think you found a 1981 double die penny, don't clean it. Cleaning a coin can reduce its value. Instead, handle it carefully, store it in a protective case, and consider submitting it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. These experts will authenticate the error and assign it a grade, which will help you get the best possible price if you decide to sell or auction the coin. In the world of coin collecting, the 1981 Lincoln penny with the double die error is one of the most coveted and valuable modern coins out there. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone with a jar full of change, you could be holding on to a small fortune. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a coin worth $62,000. So the next time you come across a 1981 penny, don't just toss it aside. Take a second to look closer. It could be your ticket to a small fortune, just waiting to be discovered. A penny is just a penny until it's a $62,000 treasure.